Welcome to the South Ops Fire Weather Webcast for Wednesday, April 15th. I'm your host, Kristen Stewart. Weak high pressure continues to remain overhead, and as a result, skies are mostly clear across central and southern California, other than some approaching fair weather high clouds. Lingering moisture at the surface has led to some patchy low clouds over some areas, but the lack of marine layer is keeping coastal cloud cover highly unorganized. These patchy clouds should be able to clear with the increased daytime heating, and a comfortable, mostly sunny spring day will be on tap for this afternoon. With respect to the weather pattern for the next week or so, it is expected to be quite progressive in nature, with multiple low-pressure systems moving through the main flow across the western U.S. This will prevent any periods of stagnant, hot and dry weather, which we have seen quite a bit of through the winter and early spring. The weak high pressure currently over the region will weaken further today as a deep trough begins to move into the Pacific Northwest. This trough will then drop into the Great Basin Thursday into Friday. Weak high pressure will follow for the weekend before another deep trough approaches the California coast early next week, bringing more wet and unsettled weather. This pattern will keep us in a mostly quiet period with respect to large fire potential. As weak high pressure remains in place, a few more degrees of warming are expected across the region today, particularly across eastern areas. High temperatures will be near seasonal averages with widespread 70s across much of the lower terrain, except for 80s in the low desert and 60s closer to the coastline. Temperatures will be a tad cooler on Thursday as the trough from the Pacific Northwest digs southward. Weak high pressure and continued onshore flow has prevented much in the way of drying since the last storm from the weekend. As a result, humidity will remain elevated today with minimums of at least 30% away from the deserts. Winds will be mostly light overall today, except for some westerly breeziness across the interior. Winds may be a bit stronger near and east of the Sierra Crest from the deep trough to our north. There will be an increase in north to northwest winds later in the day on Thursday as the trough starts to dig southward into the northern half of the Great Basin. Gusts of 30 to 50 miles an hour will be common for portions of the higher terrain on Thursday, with locally higher gusts possible across the Mojave slopes. Humidity may also start to slowly lower over portions of the region from the drier northerly flow. As the trough digs farther south Thursday night and into Friday, winds will shift around to a more east to northeast direction. The trough will bring a decent amount of upper-level support to enhance the surface winds, so there will be breezy to locally gusty northeast to east winds through the usual Santa Ana wind corridors on Friday. Though the trough is not expected to dig as far south as Arizona, so the upper support will not be particularly strong. Also, since we are so late in the season and temperatures across the Intermountain West are warmer, the surface pressure gradients are not nearly as strong as we would typically see earlier in the winter. As a result, we are not expecting to see any significantly strong winds as we would normally expect with a deep inside slider. Gusts will largely be in the 30 to 50 mile an hour range for the wind-prone spots, with some locally stronger gusts at times. This period of breeziness will be quite brief as a return to onshore flow is expected this weekend from an approaching Pacific weather system. As we usually see with breezy northeast winds, significant drying is expected on Friday. Minimum humidity will likely drop into the single digits and teens across SoCal. Humidity will be a bit higher across Central Cal since offshore flow will be weaker. This dryness will likely last through Saturday, then humidity will begin to recover but stay low overall on Sunday. Gradual warming is expected across the region Friday through the weekend. The warmest valley locations will likely rise into the low to mid-80s, with 70s common across adjacent areas. The low desert will rise back into the 90s. With another deep Pacific trough on the horizon that is forecast to move into the California coast, a strong cooling and moistening trend with breezy westerly flow is likely for the first half of next week. Another round of widespread light to locally moderate precipitation is also expected, but it is a little too early to go into any details as the forecast can greatly change before then. Despite the bit of uncertainty regarding the exact details, this forecast will be quite welcome to keep our fuels moist and delay the onset of high fire season. Thanks to the progressive weather pattern with periods of cool and wet weather, significant fire potential will remain very low as we move into the second half of April. The warmer and drier weather expected late this week, with some breezy winds, will bring an increase in initial attack activity, especially within the finer and more cured-out fuels that will be more receptive to the drying. Though no major issues are expected, especially with another bout of cool and wet weather expected next week. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Our next webcast will be on Friday, April 17th. Have a fantastic day.